For taking your time to join us. Another wonderful day, another day to take a look at the national life of the country, Nigeria. Nigeria, definitely a country of interest to lots of people around the world. Some say moments in Africa, the ones that make a difference, often start off in Nigeria. When we talk about social movements, when we talk about the sociology of the people, when we talk about what gets their attention and what sometimes doesn't get their attention, and what they dispose or find within their means to say we are interested or not interested in. Today on FemiDlive, we take a look at another point of interest to Nigerians. Welcome to the show. I am Femi Amending. We will speak on Constitution, the Nigerian Constitution. Yes, it has existed in many ways. It has at different times, at different points of the republic of the country existed. The one presently being used by Nigeria is one best referred to as the 1999 Constitution, which essentially gets its power from the democratic time in which we embarked upon from 1999, when President Olusegun Obasanjo became the first democratic leader to be elected in the late 90s in Nigeria. Well, pretty much of getting that done didn't come easy. Having seen the fact that Nigeria from about 1993 all the way to about 1999 had few moments in which they could reflect on a document that best describes a democracy. So creating a document from 1999 to guide much of where we are right now in 2007 became quite essential. A document that would make an attempt to capture a little bit of what will be the rules and regulations, what would be what can be done, should be done by who, when, how, and exactly how everything should come together. It's best described as the most vital book any country would use. Essentially, it's the most vital book we in Nigeria do use to guide ourselves. But then, when the guiding book needs new rules and it needs new additions and it needs new issues or meets new issues to address, for example, if in 1999 we never had the issue of issues of, oh well, one tribe or one part of the country wants to leave, what do? When in 1999 we did not have the likes of somebody deciding to speak against the state, the existence of the country, to say, wait, I am about to create another country within the country. You find and wonder if some part of the constitution had cleverly been left to sleep quietly for some time. But now, in 2017, almost like a sequence that cannot be stopped, the rhythm of issues coming up in the country requires different parts of the Nigerian constitution to address it. What do I mean? Usually, the Nigerian constitution becomes active in some part of the Nigerian life, one way or the other, at different times. It's very simple to say. When you're in an election year, for example, one of the key things that becomes quite active in the Nigerian constitution is issues that have to do with election, issues that have to do with who gets voted for, what party, can INEC bring in new parties, can they register new parties, how far is the power of INEC, which would have to be the Independent National Electoral Commission in Nigeria. So, the area of the constitution that deals with elections becomes active a year before elections and sometimes a year or two even after elections. But in 2017, even after the 2015 election, one can almost say the Nigerian constitution remains active in that area. Hold on for a moment, I'm getting to the point. Now you think about the sovereignty of the country as well. The Nigerian constitution becomes active. While you think about the devolution of powers, the Nigerian constitution becomes active. Talking about devolution, it's almost like what one would call you allocate labor to different people to do, a task in which you want one person to carry on while the other one holds on or does another task at another point in time. It essentially also means people who held certain responsibilities now have reasons to take up another responsibility by having them do other things. What's the story behind this? We have a three-tier of government, a three-tier system of government: the federal, the state, and definitely the local government. Now, the local governments from time had essentially been the underdog among the tiers of government. Not they do not want to work, but they do not have the mandatory power of finance or resources to get the job done. In simple terms, it's almost how unemployment is defined around the world. They need to work, or they need the ability to work, but without work being available. So for the local governments, they're interested in working, but there's not much power or resources for them to run. So the issue of devolution of powers comes to play. Now, also of good interest is, assent. Who gets to say, who gets the final say when we have a lot of arguments going on? Like we've had in Nigeria in the last few weeks about the EFCC boss, the acting EFCC boss, hoping to get the job as the EFCC boss. Who gets the final say? The lawmakers made up of the Senate and the House of Representatives, or the executive arm of government? Or should I say the judiciary arm would have to, at some point in time, intervene? But then, one would also have to remember that the executive arm gets to pretty much pick out who, after the NJC submits them, they get to present who gets the job as the CJN. And then you have the National Assembly who gets as well to vet and say, we're good or not good with this person. So, you have three arms of government supposedly complementing each other, but also with a strong capacity to twist each other on many issues. So, for example, the issue of assent, with the president, with the National Assemblies and the likes of it, it becomes kind of very, very interesting to determine what exactly would work and when it will work. Now, today's show, my big argument is about constitutional amendment. During the week, I had an interesting argument with a colleague, and much of that argument was, why don't we just make do or make away with the 1999 Constitution, and yes, create a new Constitution that drives much of its ability to be effective from what the people are saying now. What are the people saying now? Now, here's a little bit from 2014, the confab. You have issues of new states, you have the issue of allocations, you have the issue of who gets what resources, you have the issue of how governance should be done and how fairly it should be done, and appointments and elected positions and the likes of them, how it should be done, all within what one will call the confab document, which conveys, by the way, a little bit of conversations that may have been stirred up over the years, if not decades, that need some level of response from. So, on one hand, you have a document called Confab Report that has close to 8,000, if not more, pages of comments, questions, and answers related to the Nigerian life at this time. And then you have the Nigerian Constitution waiting to find what best appropriates or what best responds to some of these issues. So, you have Nigerian people all clamoring for this is our reality now. Our reality right now is that a lot of young people want jobs, that over 8,000 Nigerian applicants are interested in over 1 million jobs that are available with immigration service. Our reality now is the fact that Gary is more expensive than rice and food is on the high side. Our reality now is that those figures that best describe inflation are more real than ever before. Our reality now is that the workforce in Nigeria, essentially made up of the largest body that represents the workforce, such as the Nigerian Labour Congress, are saying we want a new minimum wage in order for us to have our lives drive forward from the state of being minimal. They're saying let's look at the 60,000 naira mark or thereabout, as against the 18,000 naira where the minimum wage is set. What are the other new issues? Oh yes, the other new issues include, when does the president get to determine or veto his final answer? And when does the National Assembly get to say, we are no longer interested in having this conversation. What we want done is what we want done on our own terms and how we want it done. The National Assembly, let's take a look at the Senate, for example. Some of their refreshing argument doesn't have divergent views. Rather, it has a solid view, a view that tries to compare what they want done down the truth of the executive arm and what one would constantly see is a system of arm twisting by both parties, or the executive arm and the National Assembly. Literally, where one would have said one is there to create oversight functions, the other one is presumably seeing itself as not just taking up oversight functions, but instructional functions to the executive arm. A move in which the executive arm says no, it cannot be. In fact, you would find it in one of the latest constitution amendments that's been proposed by the Nigerian Senate, where they do talk about the fact that, well, if the president or the governor hesitates to give what is best necessary, or what is the best conveys the situation they want to get done, they can as well go on to get those tasks done with or without the assent of the man in charge. Well, some would say, how best then do you say you are going to get the results that matter? It's what becomes needful. Devolution of powers, for example. The Senate voted yes, the House of Representatives voted no. It leaves much of the argument now pending till September. According to Majority Leader FemiDlive, who spoke and made it clear that we would wait around until September, but then we would have to harmonize our positions as lawmakers on what best works for the country. And then you have all the other issues as regards the Accountant General of the Federation being separated, the office being separated from the accountant, creating an office called the Accountant General, different from the Accountant General of the Federation. Then you have the position of the Attorney General of the Federation as separated from the Minister of Justice, similar to Attorney General of the state separated from the Commissioner of Justice within the state. These are issues waiting for some classic response. But then, how responsive will have to be my bottom line now is some of the issues as they come up with what the Constitution attempts to respond to. The issues, as I would say, the questions are always as important as the answers. In 1779, in a book written by a man named Thomas Paine, it described the book. The title of the book was The Age of Reasoning. And one of the interesting things about that conversation that went on in America as they tried to formulate the direction for their democracy was the fact that they argued constantly on what was best for the country. Arguments that you're convinced until you hear the counter argument, and counter arguments that then be subjected or made objective under the means of superior argument. This brings you to a point where you want to wonder, what is the reality on ground? In the age of reasoning, conversations about what's best for the country usually produce solutions that were advanced. What do I mean by advanced? Solve the issue at hand, and at the same time was futuristic to say, in the event that Eve takes over another Eve, for example, in the event that the president travels outside the country in the nearest future, should we have the acting president, once it transmits a letter to the National Assembly, should we have the acting president take over or take further responsibilities after 60 days, 90 days, 120 days, or should I say even more? These are issues that there are to deal with. In the 33 bills being pushed or being talked about, being amended by the Senate at this time, not essentially is it captured what should be done, for example, when the president has to step out of the country on medical grounds or any of the other grounds that there may exist to be attended to. Forward thinking. How forward thinking is the Nigerian Constitution to the issues on ground now, to issues of tribalism, sectionalism, name them, one way or the other, to the issue of budget, to the issue of economic recession, to the issue of even cutting down the amount of money people in public office do take home. The Revenue Mobilization Allocation Fiscal Commission derives its power from much of the acts that comes from the National Assembly. So when they do propose to say, we think the Senate or senators should get a lesser amount at this time when we have an economic crisis, or conditions that are best described an economic crisis, that we have a cut by 60%, for example. Are there conditionalities that needs now to be added to the Nigerian constitution, not just resolving issues of now. What conditionalities are being thought about, not conditionalities of if of now. The if of now sounds like you're trying to resolve an issue the way you have it like right now. But then, how forward thinking are some of the people who make the laws that guide the future of a country like Nigeria? Constitutional amendment, forward thinking, conditionalities, all these, one way or the other, are where somewhere in this mix brings where the power of the country can grow from to be stronger, or to constantly be in a position to react, to be in a position to resolve, to be in a position constantly to manage a new brand of politics as it may appear. Thanks for listening in. This is FemiDlive. I'm FemiD.